is the debate that raged within the U.S. intelligence community for years after the assassination about what links Oswald might have had with the KGB, Soviet intelligence. CBS News correspondent Bill McLaughlin reports from Moscow tonight as we continue our series on the 25th anniversary of Kennedy's death.
3 shots were fired at President Kennedy has been assassinated. Oswald has been shot. On October 16, 1959, 2 days before his 20th birthday, Lee Harvey Oswald stepped off the train from Finland at Moscow's Leningradsky station. He checked into the Hotel Berlin and promptly told Soviet authorities he wanted to defect.
You're a Marxist?
Well, I have studied Marxist philosophy, yes, sir, and also other philosophers.
It was a story he would tell many times in his short life. Hearing it back then in Moscow, a young reporter who interviewed Oswald found him naive but cagey.
He wanted attention. When I talked with him, I asked him why he was defecting to the Soviet Union. His answer was, I want to give the people of the United States something to think about.
The Soviets turned down Oswald's request for citizenship, sending him instead as a stateless person to Minsk, a factory town. He was given a job as a metal worker at this radio plant. He got relatively good money and this apartment, not bad by Soviet standards, with a view of the Svislok River. He wrote in his historic diary he was living the Russian dream. And many have wondered, during this period in Minsk, was he being groomed as an agent by the KGB, Soviet intelligence?
There were many hints that the KGB might be behind Oswald because Oswald had lived in the Soviet Union and had left the Soviet Union. He had a Russian wife and all those things.
It was at a dance at the Minsk Palace of Culture that Oswald met 19-year-old Marina Prusakova. They were married a month and a half later. Shortly after their marriage, the Oswalds asked for Soviet permission to leave for the United States. Similar requests from some other defectors have been turned down. But eventually, the Kremlin approved the Oswald visa, raising more eyebrows about possible intelligence connections.
At first, it seemed to me very strange because I had seen so many defectors come who were trapped.
And after the assassination and Oswald's death, as investigators had barely begun looking into his past and Marina's, something happened that further clouded the question of Lee Oswald and Soviet intelligence.
My name is Yuri Nestenko. Major Nestenko. KGB. Let us arrange a meeting.
This is how it was recreated for a television movie. The events really happened. A Soviet security officer in Geneva defected to the United States, with information that made the CIA sit up and listen.
Something else. I have plenty to understand on this Lee Harvey Oswald.
This is what the real Yuri Nosenko told the CIA, that the KGB had looked at Oswald, but quickly concluded that he was unbalanced, that the KGB had approved letting him stay on in Minsk, but completely dismissed the idea of recruiting him as an agent. The CIA's problem was, should Nosenko be believed?
There was a controversy within CIA during the 60s over the bona fides of Mr. Nosenko, whether he had been deliberately sent by the Soviets to the United States with the story that they had looked at Oswald but decided not to use him.
I am defector. When did you first hear of Lee Harvey Oswald?
In the film and in reality, some CIA officials were so concerned that Nosenko might be a plant, a double agent trying to cover up a KGB relationship with Oswald, that for 3 years, Nosenko was kept in isolation and questioned relentlessly.
You must stop this. I am defector. You are coming for that.
I think on balance, he in fact was telling the truth. But then again, one can only surmise, and the truth possibly is in Nosenko's head, and only to be found in Moscow.
And finally, in 1967, long after the Warren Commission had issued its report, the CIA decided Nosenko's story was basically reliable, that the KGB had no serious dealings with Oswald.
Would the Soviet Union get itself involved in an assassination of an American president? And the basic answer is no. They'd just gone through the missile crisis. It almost tore the world apart. they could well have been fearful that Oswald would have been pinned on them and that the assassination of our president consequently be pinned on them. Consequently, I can understand they're taking a lot of steps to convince us that he was not their man in that action, whatever may have been the relationship with them.
Churchill's famous words about Russia might apply to Oswald, a riddle wrapped in a mystery inside an enigma. We will surely never know exactly what Soviet or even American intelligence thought about him, except that apparently both sides found him too unstable to touch or recruit. Bill McLaughlin, CBS News, Moscow.
And tomorrow night on the CBS Evening News, we will examine in detail the 6 seconds of gunfire in Dallas 25 years ago using today's computers. And we hope you and your family will watch 4 Days in November tonight